Hello there and welcome to your informative health program, Health Business. On this program, we educate you on different health issues, their causes and how to prevent them. I'm your host, Oluwatoyin Kolaole. Sit back, relax and enjoy this package. In the news, reproductive health experts want government at all levels to infuse more funds into family planning commodities so as to reduce pregnancy-related deaths. Stay tuned.
One year after the United States President Donald Trump reintroduced the global gag rule that stopped funding foreign aid to any international non-governmental organizations which provide abortion services to women seeking them, or those that even offer abortion as option to unwanted pregnancies. The global gag rule has ripple effects not only on women's freedom on reproduction choice, but on adolescents too. Reproductive health experts are of the opinion that government at all levels need to be proactive and should stop relying solely on international donors. Chairman Association for Advancement of Family Planning in Nigeria, who also is the current chairman of Coalition for Maternal, Newborn Child and Adolescent Health Accountability, Dr. Ejike Orji, in an interview with Health Business, urged government at all levels to inject more funds into family planning commodities in their various levels so as to reduce pregnancy-related deaths in Nigeria.
The federal government, yes, is doing quite a lot. If Donald Trump's opposition to the American money going to countries because of the global gag rule, if it becomes this, that means about $6.something billion will be withdrawn from all the support USAID is giving to other organizations globally, especially the international development partners like UNFPA, which is the major organization that provides family planning support to Nigeria. So that means money coming to them will be reduced, and then that means Nigeria has to increase whatever money is coming from UNFPA components. And then, like I said, the philosophy or the philosophical decision to do something is already there. But however, my grasp is actually at the subnational level. The states and local governments are not doing enough when it comes to issues of health. The reason is that health is on the concurrent list. The federal government cannot prescribe to states what they have to do. They can only do what they want to do. And this is one area the state governments and local governments have not done well at all. So my support to the federal government is to let them see how they can advocate to the governors forum and make sure they put more money in their budgets and also put a line item for purchasing commodities. And one of the key problems that we have or challenges is that we do not have enough personnel to man the family planning services sites that are across the country. In fact, I think we just have about maybe 30 to 40% of the needed staff. So there should be a lot of training in terms of capacity building and recruiting more people who will be able to provide the services.
You will recall that in 2012, the federal government of Nigeria participated in the London Family Planning Summit and made a commitment that every year Nigeria will commit $3 million as part of support grant to making sure that family planning commodities are available in Nigeria.
In a bid to reduce number of deaths from communicable disease in Nigeria, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control Agency has embarked on training of stakeholders on this issue. Health Business was part of such trainings in Lagos. Watch this documentary to learn more on how to prevent communicable diseases.
With the new outbreaks of cholera and yellow fever in some part of Nigeria and the recent re-emergence of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, health authorities are calling on Nigerians to practice healthy personal hygiene, such as hand washing regularly. One of such authorities is the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. NCDC say if good personal hygiene is maintained at all times, it will prevent reoccurrence of deadly epidemics in the country. The Chief Executive Officer at NCDC, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu, made a call on a training for health editors of various media outfits in Lagos. Ihekweazu noted that proper hygiene is key to solving major disease outbreaks. He maintained that the training was aimed at educating the media on the 5 epidemic-prone diseases, which include meningitis, cholera, yellow fever, Lassa fever, and measles.
MPHCDA released a survey of vaccination a few months ago, showing coverage rates in Sokoto of less than 10%. So less than 10% of the children in Sokoto have received their childhood vaccination. Meanwhile, for years we've been shouting that the traditional rulers in the north are doing so well, are the champions of vaccination. The leader of the traditional rulers in the north is where? Is the Sultan of Sokoto in Sokoto. I cannot say this in a public space myself, but these are stories that you can go and write on. These are the type of stories I want you to develop on the side, apart from the emergency stories that you have to write. So there are many more ideas, and I can share many with you, or you can call me and we can think about stories together that are relevant for our work, that will give you an opportunity to shine with input that will grow your career, but will also support the essence of the work that we do. It doesn't have to be about singing NCDC's praises. It's around highlighting the issues that are important to us, because if government recognizes that infectious diseases are important and puts more money into that space globally, then we all rise. A rising tide lifts all ships.
The Assistant Director, Health Emergency, NCDC, Dr. Olaolu Aderinola, educated journalists on the causes of these communicable diseases in the form of bacteria, fungi, viral and parasite diseases that could affect all age groups.
Usually in Nigeria, the meningitis that causes epidemics is usually bacterial, and it's usually due to three main organisms. Looking at the Neisseria meningitis group, there are about 13 serogroups, but the ones that causes outbreak, we have the serogroup A, which is serogroup A, C, W, and Y. So those are the predominant ones within Nigeria. And Nigeria falls within the African meningitis belt. There are 26 countries there, so it's not Nigeria is not excluded in that.
Aderinola stressed on prevention such as personal hygiene, health education, and vaccination as key to eradicating these diseases. According to him, poor environmental hygiene and inadequate information contribute to the spread of these diseases.
When we talk about epidemic, we are talking about a disease condition or any event within a population that is more than expected for that period. So that's just the simple thing about it. It could be a health behavior, and which means that this is usually supported by data, which means in a month, if you've not had any disease, particular event, and you're now having an event, that could now be an epidemic, which will be based on what has been happening before. For some diseases, once you just have a single case, is an epidemic. For some, because some we usually have it almost all the time, you need to get to a certain level that you now say it's an epidemic, and we need to have a public response to address it. Doctors, health workers see patients on a one-to-one basis, but there's a need to have a collective action to be able to reduce the number of cases. So for an outbreak, most times it's usually associated with a place. So more cases of disease are happening, but there's more emphasis on location. So when you have outbreak, crime there's maybe within a school, within a closed institution, you can have an outbreak. People can go for a party, and within that party, you just find out that after eating food, probably towards the evening time, 3 members there just started stooling. So within that place, you say there's an outbreak of baby diarrhea within that place. So that's just it. So it's more or less like an epidemic, but it's more focused on the location of the place. So we're going through meningitis. Usually in medicine, when we talk about when there is a TIS behind the disease, it just means there's a swelling. So that's mean of inflammation. And usually when that happens, it's body's response to fight an invader within the body system, which means there is something coming in and the body needs to respond. So usually when the body responds, there are usually some things that goes with it for the body to now repair. And most times, if there's no intervention medically, it could now cause untoward events now happen, complications that will now occur. So for meningitis, we are talking about inflammation of the covering of the brain and the spinal cord. And I'm sure as we are here today, most of us are carrying load, but we don't know we are carrying a load. An adult's brain weighs about 1.3 to 1.4 kilograms. So you are carrying a load, but you don't know it because it's protected by a fluid called the cerebrospinal fluid. So it's that fluid that makes our brains to float. So as we are walking about, you don't feel anything that you are carrying a load. But if there's any disturbance in that thing, then you now start having symptoms of maybe you have a headache, which is related to something happening in other parts of the body. And the brain and the cerebrospinal fluid, it's more or less the most sterile part of the body. The other part of the body that is very sterile is the blood. The blood circulates all through, which means that the blood has to be free of organisms or anything that can cause any disease. The other part is now the cerebrospinal fluid. So there's usually a barrier between the blood and the cerebrospinal fluid. So no infection or anything should cross that barrier. So that's like the safest place because the nervous system controls more or less all the functions of the body. If you are blinking, if you are talking, it's because your nervous system is all working perfectly. So if there's a problem here, we now say there can now be a meningitis. That meningitis affects all age groups.
Aderinola added that in 2017, NCDC recorded 14,542 cases of meningitis with 1,166 deaths, while in 2018, 3,100 cases were recorded with 301 deaths. Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu also admonished health journalists to pass across credible information to Nigerians about the communicable diseases and how to prevent and curtail outbreaks.
Now you know that hand washing is very key in reducing the transmission of communicable diseases in Nigeria. Next on the lineup is Mother and Child.
Convulsions, also known as seizures in babies and young children, can be terrifying for parents, but you need to remain calm to help the child. Some seizures only involve short periods of unresponsiveness and do not require specific interventions. Other types of seizures are more intense and so require specific interventions, such as ensuring the child maintains a clear airway to allow air into the lungs. No matter what the seizure type is, if your child seems to be having a prolonged seizure, many seizures in a short period of time, cluster of seizures, or many more seizures than usual, seek medical attention immediately. It is important for family members, teachers, and babysitters to know what to do when the child has a seizure. Here are some of the suggestions on how to help your child with different seizure types. Step 1. Stay calm and reassure others. Many people are scared when they see someone having a seizure. You can help your child by staying calm. Step 2. Prevent injury. Keep your child away from sources of danger. If they are near a stairway, a hot stove, a busy street, or other hazards, protect them as much as possible. Step 3. Be aware of the length of the seizure. If possible, note the time that the seizure begins and how long it lasts. If it is the child's first convulsive seizure, or if the seizure lasts more than 5 minutes, call your doctor immediately and give an accurate report. Step 4. Make your child as comfortable as possible. If your child has food in their mouth, do not attempt to take the food out, as this may actually push it further in. Step 5. Do not put anything in your child's mouth. Putting a finger, a spoon, a pencil, or any other object in their mouth could result in choking or broken teeth, not to mention a beaten finger. It is a common misconception that people can swallow their tongue during a seizure, but this is not true because the tongue is attached to the base of the mouth. Step 6. Be sensitive and supportive after the seizure. Children usually recover from seizures on their own. If your child is old enough, explain to them exactly what happened and how long the seizure lasted. After the child is conscious, it's important to take the child to a pediatrician for proper checkup and to know the cause of the convulsion and how to prevent it in future.
Do you want to learn more on how to care for your pets? Let's join Dr. Nasir Olatunji on Vet 360.
Good day, viewers. I'm Dr. Olatunji Nasir, your host on this segment, Vet 360. Last week we talked about the care of pets when you have decided to have it. We talked about provision of good housing. We had talked about provision of good food, provision of water, and allowing the pet to express himself or herself. This week, we are going to take the discussion further, and we're going to talk about pets' interaction with the environment and your neighbors. We know Lagos, for example, is a very crowded city with housing deficits, housing problems, and all that. So the typical house in Lagos, or I dare say in most parts of Nigeria, is crowded. You have neighbors, those who love dogs, or cats, or monkeys, or whatever, and those who don't even like them at all. But then they have to coexist. Because part of the function of a responsible owner is to also think of the impact the pets will have on the neighbors, and then children especially. So you want to have this dog. You have decided you want to have this dog. Last week we talked about you having the size of dog that will fit into your lifestyle, that will fit into the kind of housing that you have. And for example, if you decide to have a big dog, perhaps you have a compound, how would you make that dog to behave and be responsible and not cause problems for you? So the issue of care will extend to training of such dogs. How would the dog, for example, interact with society? It's very, very important. So you need to train your dog. So from very young age, mostly when they can relate and retain instructions and all that, that should be about the age of about 6 months. But some people start earlier. You start training your dog to be able to be a social animal, to be able to get familiar to people, to be able to get familiar to children, to adults, for people to be able. So how do you do this? What you do is you have to train this dog. You have to let the dog interact with people. It is very, very important. They get to stroke the dog, they get to like play with the dog, you also play with the dog, assuring the neighbors that there is no problem. It's not as if, I'm talking about a pet, not a dog you are keeping for guard. I'm talking about a pet. Now, if it's going to be a guard dog, you may not allow so much social interaction, as it were, you know. But if it's going to be a pet, your pet must be used to people. It's very important. It must be used to people. Then, what we call housebreaking, toilet training is also very important for your dog. You don't want your dog that will be defecating everywhere in the compound, for example, urinating everywhere in the compound, because there are diseases we call zoonotic diseases. For example, if you allow your pet to be defecating everywhere in the compound, they can pass out worm eggs that children will unwittingly go and then pick these things up, and they put this right in their mouth, and then you have the children having worm infestation and all that. Then again, if they urinate about, especially when you are dealing with cats, it's also very dangerous. There are so many things that can be passed from the urine of dogs and cats to the environment, and if it's not well taken care of, can also be dangerous to human beings. These are very important things you must take care of. So you have to prepare your dog or your cat to be able to interact socially with people. It's so very important. And last week, I need to stress another particular point about the fact that you allow your dog or your cat to express its innate abilities, its innate self, its innate built up, you know. So you don't want to tell them not to bark when they need to bark and all that. It's very important. Then I want to talk about the issue of cruelty to animals, because if you are going to expose your animals or your pets to cruelty, that means you are not ready to care for that pet. I'm sure you don't beat your children anyhow. You probably want to like reprimand them when they go wrong or something. And it's the same aspect. And it is not by being cruel. Some people will want to punish their dogs, punish their cats, and they are not giving them food, they are not giving them water, they are not giving them good housing, they are not giving them good training and everything. Those are bad things. And they are putting them in houses that are fit for, I don't even know what to call it, because I don't want to say fit for animals. Pets are not supposed to be animals like that. Okay, we've learned a bit of some things this week. Next week, you want to join me on another episode of Vet 360. I still remain Dr. Olatunji Nasir.
We've gradually come to the end of today's episode on Health Business. Join me next week for a fresh installment. Remember, living healthy is a serious business. My name is Oluwatoyin Kolawole. Until next time, bye for now. Thank you.